Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Harrow, media coach, marketing strategist, author of Sell Yourself Without Selling Your Soul, and CEO of PRSecrets.com. Welcome. I'm going to do some housekeeping first and then introduce our guest. So on the right over here, you can see that you can introduce yourself in the chat. So we've got our little welcome message over here. So if you want to say who you are and pop up your Instagram account if you have one and your URL if you like, just so other people can explore who you are. And then also, all during the webinar, if you've got a question, pop it in right there, and I'll either have Melissa answer it on the spot, or we'll hold it till the end where we've got the Q&A. So either way, no worries, I'm going to be able to see your questions. So if you can start to introduce yourselves now so we can see that you're here. And then I'm going to introduce Melissa. Melissa Camilleri, she's the founder and creative director of Complement, a gift brand that she launched in 2011. She used to be a high school English teacher, and now she's turned designer and shop owner. And she credits Instagram for helping her grow her business. And she pretty much does publicity and Instagram for her online business. And now, you know, she started out not knowing a lot about Instagram and being able to grow her following to over 30,000 in just 18 months. So she's going to share some of those secrets today. And also, she's going to talk a little bit about her course. There's tens, as a former teacher, you know, she's a great teacher, so tens of thousands of people have attended her virtual courses, also participated in her workshop, and studied with her. So she's an incredible teacher. And I just love also her motto, which is "We rise by lifting others." And that's really the whole basis of her business and her philosophy, and part of what she's going to integrate into what she's talking about today. So and also she's like one of the nicest people in the world, and I can't wait to meet her because she lives in Sacramento. So we're making a plan to actually meet in person. So I love how virtual can move to like really real face to face. So welcome, Melissa. I'm really thrilled. Oh, by the way, the reason why we're having this webinar today is because I heard Melissa on another one, and I was so taken with her very practical style and engaging personality that I reached out to her directly, and it turned out she was already on my list and already knew me. So it's wonderful to have her here. So welcome, Melissa.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really stoked to be here. So, and thank you for all the nice words, Susan. I told Susan when she reached out that I felt a little starstruck. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been on your list for years. Yes, I'll work with you. So I'm really happy to be here and to share with you kind of a little bit of a backstory on how I'm using Instagram in my own business and how I've helped others do the same for their own businesses as well. So if you would be patient with me as far as the tech is concerned, I want to make sure I'm sharing my screen properly. If you can see on your screen how the 5 reasons you're not seeing results on Instagram and how to fix that, kind of like a slide, could you let us know in the chat box, because I want to make sure you're getting a good experience here. I'm going to make sure that my slides are being shared properly. So let me, there we go. See.
Yeah, we're seeing you now.
Okay, hi everybody. And here we go.
You don't know, so.
Okay, no, that's good. Hi, nice to meet everybody. And I'm gonna share my full screen with you with this. How about that? We good? Oh no, give it a second.
And in the meantime, I'm seeing a lot of welcome everybody. I see people from all over the world, Canada, Victoria, BC, and also people were telling about what they're promoting. Like we have musicians, we've got a painter and writer therapist in Kansas, an artist's album. Let's take a look. Producer, creator, author. That's our, let's see, that's Laura, and then we've got Arlie. It looks like we might have lost Melissa for a second, but we're working on the technology. This is sort of brand new technology, so please be patient.
I think we might be back up. Are we back up?
We are back up.
Okay,
yep.
So we can see the slides?
Yep.
Okay, thank you everybody for your patience while we work that out. Okay, so let's start. The 5 reasons you're not seeing results on Instagram and definitely how to fix that. I I know that Instagram can be maybe a challenge for some of us, but I have found that it's even easier to use, surprisingly, than Facebook, because of the fact that as of right now, we still are able to post our things and get in front of the people who need to see our stuff a little bit more easily, because the algorithms, on Facebook have changed so much in the past, where we post something and maybe 6 or 7 of our thousands of people who like our pages on Facebook are seeing that. So when I made the move over to Instagram, I found that there was a lot more success with that. So maybe you have some experience on Instagram, maybe you're brand new, but my goal at the end of this Instagram webinar is to make sure that you feel confident moving forward a couple of steps to really get in front of the people that you need to, and I'm going to give you some easy tricks on how you can do that. So, like Susan said, a little bit of background about me. I've been an English teacher for 10 years and a professional development trainer for 12. That's kind of how Compliment started. That's my brand. It's a jewelry and gift brand, like Susan mentioned, and I founded it in November of 2011. At the beginning as a fundraiser for students. I was working with some disadvantaged kids who at risk and were really needing some additional support in order to go to college. So I made jewelry on the side, and I had a student come up to me and say, hey, can you make me one of these rings for homecoming? And by the end of the week, I had 20 orders on my desk. So I thought, what if I sold these at the wealthier high school up the street so I can earn some money for my kids to go off to college for their scholarships? And so I started building the business like that. But about a year and a half ago, the business grew so much where I left the classroom and I was able to do this full time. And during those 18 months, I took my Instagram following to a little over 30,000 to where it is today. I will say that at first the growth was very slow. It took me a full year to get to 1,000 followers. And then I started getting smart and really paying attention to the way that other brands were communicating with their people on Instagram, and the result of that has been really tremendous for my own company. And then as I have packaged up these ideas and these tips and tricks on how to help other companies, I know that I've helped others get similar success. So right now our sales are multiple 5 figures each month, which is a huge cry from where I started, because I don't have a business or jewelry design or retail background. I have an English background. So it's all about what I found is building relationships and getting in front of the right eyes. So that's what we're going to be covering. If you haven't already come to say hi over on Instagram, please do so. I'm at Shop Compliment. And also pop on and say hi to Susan. She's at Susan Haro as well. And then we can communicate with you on Instagram after the webinar is through. So why Instagram? Why is this a platform that everybody is so jazzed about? So you've probably heard that it's one of the fastest growing social media platforms, and that 300 million plus users are on there each day. And Susan and I were talking earlier this week that in recent reports we've heard as much as 500 million plus users they've reached that milestone in the last month or so. So that means 500 million people are on Instagram, which means out of 500 million people, at least a handful of those are your people, right? Like at least some of those people want the thing or the service that you are offering. So we just need to figure out how in the heck we can reach them. So Instagram is a great way because it easily allows you to build trust with your potential clients. And you'll hear me say this multiple times throughout the webinar, and I think it's the reason why Susan and I have jived so much over the last couple of months that we've been talking, is that building relationships is the best way to sell. I mean, people buy things from the people who they like. So what better way to share your story and share your services and what you offer than by inviting people to come into your world and build trust with them. And that's, hopefully going to lead to more clients. Instagram is a mobile-based marketing platform. Now, if you have messed around in the app very much on your phone, you'll know that it's much easier to access on your phone than it is on the computer. Like, you can see it on your computer just fine, and it's pretty on your computer, but loading the pictures and commenting back and forth and scrolling through your feed is meant for your mobile. And why does that matter to us as marketers is that according to Morgan Stanley research in 2014, online transactions and bookings for services on mobile exceeded purchases on a desktop. So that's the first time in history in 2014 that more people were buying things from their phones than they were on a desktop computer. That's significant. So we want to make sure we're reaching people where they're hanging out, and we're spending more and more time on our phone, so it would make sense that we are reaching our people there. And that's why Instagram is so hot. Why aren't more of those 300 to 500 million users following and then buying from you? Because there's got to be a reason. There's something that we can do to improve our stats in this way. So let's get started right away. Let's jump right in and learn about maybe one thing that you could do differently in order to see more of those users buying from you. The first one, reason number one, why you're not seeing results, it could be because you're not making it easy. So if you look at the example on the right, you'll see this comes from @meditation_Nick, and you'll see that he is making it easy for people to book his services because in the one clickable link that he has, which is at the it's the blue link at the last line of text up in the bio. That is the only clickable link you get on Instagram. So what that means is that, you know, on Facebook, if you post a picture, you can put a website on there and you can click through links all over Facebook. The difference with Instagram is that your pictures aren't actually able to be linked anywhere. You only get one. So you want to make that one link easy for people to find you and book your services. So you'll see what Meditation Nick has done is linked to the place where you can actually book his service. It's not to his website. It's right to the service booking. So he's making it easier for people to get in contact with him and book his service. So that clickable link, really, you need to be mindful that it's linking to whatever service or product you're promoting. It could go to your opt-in URL. So if you are trying to build your newsletter and build your list, you could put your URL for that list in that clickable link and build your list that way, which is a great idea. It could go to a particular product or package that you're promoting in your most recent post. And it's really important as well that when you are crafting your bio, that you are really mindful about making sure you are communicating your why with potential followers. So this is the first thing that somebody is going to see of you and decide whether or not they want to follow you. So you could see what Meditation Nick has done. He's saying that what he does at another account, he's the program director at Edible Sakai. He's a meditation teacher and a life lover. And then here comes his why. It says, making better humans through meditation and education. Want to meditate with me? So I know if I'm a potential follower, hey, I believe in meditation, I believe in education, this person seems like my person I want to follow. Now you want to create that same experience for your potential followers as well, that right when they come to your page, that in your bio you are communicating your brand values or your service values. What do you stand for? And that way people are going to have a better opportunity to connect with you. If you're just telling people, hey, I make jewelry, for example, in my case, I make jewelry and it's really cute and there's a compliment that comes inside the box. Some people might follow me, but I know that I'm going to connect better with people who share my same values so that when it does come time to buy, they remember it's me who they want to buy from because we care about the people that we're buying from. You know, we care about the services we book are coming from people who we connect with, and that's the easiest way that you can connect right away in the first page that people see, which is your bio and the clickable link.
You know what, I like what you just said, Melissa, you know, because I think people often think the bio, you know, should be all about them, but what you're saying it should be what do you stand for, sharing your values, and also what are you giving to them, and that clickable link, like, I didn't even think about that, like, you can change that too. I mean, you can change that with anything that you know, it doesn't have to be set, it's not set in stone. You can change that link if you're promoting one thing or you want people to notice, you know, something else. That's not, you know, you can change that every single day if you want it.
Oh, heck yes, absolutely. And I do that sometimes depending on what I'm posting about or what I'm promoting. So a couple of days ago, I posted a picture of a necklace, and I saw a comment come through on the picture that said, "Where can I find this on your site? Where can I find this necklace on your site?" So instead of making it difficult for my person to, click on my site, click on my drop-down menu, find that particular product, I said I changed my clickable link to that exact product, and then I wrote back to her and I said, you can go and click on the link in my bio and I'll take you right there. And guess what happened? She bought it. So you want to make it as easy as possible for your people to do the thing you need them to do, which is probably buy from you, right? I mean, that's why we're in business. Yeah. We need to sell something. So. Yeah, thank you for
in that picture say, click link in bio. You actually direct people to it when you do your posts. So if people don't know, you actually tell them to do it.
Absolutely. Yep, yeah. A call to action. That's right. Okay, so why else are you not getting results on Instagram? It could be that your pictures simply don't look good. And that sounds really harsh, and I want to promise you that I'm not that harsh of a person, but I think it's interesting to see sometimes the pictures that people choose to post on Instagram because they aren't visually appealing. They're not aesthetic. And Instagram is such a visual platform. I mean, that's how we're communicating with people. So if your pictures don't look nice, then why would people want to follow you? Now, the example that I show here is from an account called Unseen Heroes, and they're a local Sacramento company who they put on big community events in Sacramento. And you can see that they have pictures of people, of objects, of food, promoting their events. But there's a certain aesthetic that they are sharing. They're bright. They have a lot of light in their pictures. And they all kind of fit together in a similar aesthetic. They're very mindful about how their pictures interact with one another. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people making on Instagram is that there's not a lot of attention paid to how beautiful is this picture. Now, that does not mean you have to be a photography genius. I will tell you that 99.9% of my pictures are from my iPhone. I'm not taking them with a fancy camera and editing them on my desktop or in Photoshop and then loading them onto my Instagram. I don't have time for that. I am taking pictures directly from my iPhone. So I want to try and make this as easy for you all as possible too. So some really easy tips is, number one, clean the lens on your phone with a cloth, and that includes both sides of your lens. So like the selfie lens that you would use on the front of your phone gets probably put up against your face when you're talking on your phone, and that means that your facial oils can very easily get on there and kind of cloud up your picture. And same with, if you're like me and your phone gets tossed into your bag or in your pocket, the other lens can get lint in it, or other just gunk from being, just being in use. So cleaning your lens will do wonders for you. It's so simple but so impactful. Another idea is to take photos of objects on a white or bright background. So you can see at the very first picture that Unseen Heroes has listed here that it's a bag that says Sacramento, California. You can see it's on a white background. It makes the product really stand out. So if you're a product-based business, I do highly recommend this. When I first started Instagram, my operations were on my dining room table in my home, and I have a beautiful, lovely cherry wood dining room table. But the problem is that I don't have a lot of good natural light in my dining room, and the table is dark. And so my products were just kind of like blah on that background. So when I really stepped up my Instagram game, I bought a super cheap white desk, like maybe for 20 bucks at IKEA, and I stuck it under a window to get a lot of good natural light, and that's where I take the majority of all of my pictures right now. Now, this is not just if you're selling products. This is also for if you're selling services and you're trying to figure out a way to visually communicate your brand message with your people. Sometimes that might include an object. So you can see Unseen Heroes here. They have this picture of tomatoes and salsa, And they are trying, I know what they're about, so I can tell you they're trying to communicate that feeling of Sacramento in the summer, and tomatoes are huge here, and we call it Sacra Tomato, and so there's an emotion that's evoked out of that picture because the food here in the summer is so abundant and delicious, and they have these events that are outdoors and in the summer. So you can see they've really paid mind to how they're visually communicating their goals with their people, and then putting that on a white background to really make those products pop. Another big mistake I see on Instagram with regard to pictures is the use of filters. Now, when Instagram first started a few years ago, using filters was really a popular aesthetic. It looked really fun and funky to make your photos look so processed that they were like, you know, taken in the 70s when really they were taken on your iPhone yesterday. However, I think that filters can detract from your visual aesthetic if you're using them without intention. If it's like, ooh, this one picture kind of looks kind of funky if I, you know, do this and cross-process and blah, blah, blah within Instagram just because it's fun and because you like to do it. Instead, I really highly caution you to really think about, does this filter enhance the message that I'm trying to communicate with my people? Or is it detracting from my message and I'm just using it because it's kind of fun and funky? So if you ask yourself that question, I would venture to say nine times out of 10, you probably aren't going to go with a filter at all. What you may do is brighten the picture within Instagram. There's in part of the app, you're able to adjust the color as opposed to putting a filter over the picture. And so brightening it may make that picture a little bit more visually appealing, and I do that all the time. If I use a filter, almost always it's lo-fi, just because it really brightens up the color in the picture, but pretty much I stay away from them, and I see most big brands doing the same. They just stay away from the filters, and instead they'll just brighten or adjust the contrast or something to that effect. And then the last thing about making your pictures look good, and I think this is really big for service-based businesses, is we see a lot of pictures that get a lot of likes, and they're very popular. They're like the quotes that are laid over a picture. So using a text app like my favorite is WordSwag. You may have that app on your phone. WordSwag is a great app to download so that you can type out those like cute quotes, you know, that you see on Instagram all over the place, or on Pinterest and stuff like that too. But one of the things I see people really not paying attention to is how all of those textual pictures look in this kind of quilt view like you see here in the example, when you can see all of the pictures kind of placed together as if it were in a quilt. Sometimes it just looks like too many words at once, you know, if you had a whole bunch of wordy pictures laid next to one another. And so making your pictures that use those text apps also coordinate visually in the overall aesthetic of what you're posting is going to really help you in terms of creating a beautiful experience for your potential followers. So you can see in this Unseen Heroes example that the top middle picture of the popsicle where it says gather, it's very subtle, and 2 pictures down, the information about their pop-up shop display, Golden State of Mind, those textual pictures still coordinate in the overall aesthetic of what they're posting day in and day out. So individually, that picture is great on its own, so as people are scrolling through the feed, but when they go to your feed as a whole, you also want to keep in mind how those all work together. So, you know, we talk a lot more about this in the course and get kind of in depth, but that's like a pretty easy suggestion. Now, if you're looking at your feed and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I don't do this, you know, I need to change something.
I would have made that mistake with my WordSwag, getting carried away with WordSwag and
you know
uploading like 10 of them at once before I even knew you were only supposed to, you know, upload like one
Yeah.
Day. Yeah,
Every couple hours, yeah. That's totally okay,
done.
because you know what? Everybody does that. Everybody does that when they're first starting out, because it's so exciting. You want to get stuff on your feed, and that's totally okay. But in moving forward, now that you know better, you do better, and you can always go back and delete pictures. You can take pictures out of your feed, and that's something that it like never dawned on me at first. And then when I started seeing how my pictures were fitting together like a quilt, I thought, ooh, that one doesn't really fit. That one's kind of funky and out of place. So delete it. Like, who cares? Just get rid of it and then move on and start building with intention from this point forward as you post. So what do you think, Susan? Good?
Yeah, totally good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So reason number 3 why you might not be seeing results on Instagram is that your brand story is unclear. So I know that there are a lot of people on this webinar who are brand spanking new to Instagram. So that's actually kind of in your favor, because you can really intentionally set out to create your brand story from scratch. Now, if you scroll back far enough in my feed on Shop Compliment, you can see that my brand story aesthetically is not very clear. I mean, you have to go back quite a ways, but you can see when there starts to become a difference in how I was Instagramming with intention and before. So how do you make your brand story more clear with the pictures that you're posting? Some quick fixes is only post pictures that further your brand story. So that's more easily said than done, of course. One thing that I see happening a lot with business owners, and this is for product-based, service-based, brick and mortars across the gamut. I see a lot of people posting about their business and then posting a picture of their kids at swim lessons, and then posting a picture of what they ate for dinner that night, and then posting a picture of them at their family reunion, and then, oh wait, I have a business, let me post about the business again. And it's really unclear when a potential follower comes to see your account what the heck it is that you do. So this example is from Nikki Stern, health coach, and she's actually a good friend of mine. We share an office, and she helps women connect their mood with the food that they're eating. Now you can see that in the third picture in the top row, it's a picture of her oven range. If you look really close, there's her kid in the picture. It's her son Jack is doing a little dance in front of their new oven range thing. And so there's a bit of the personal story of her behind some of her pictures. So it doesn't mean you don't exist necessarily anymore on Instagram as a person if you're really concentrating on your business. But I will say that when you look at Nikki's feed, you can tell what she's about. It's pictures of beautiful, vibrant, healthy food, and that's the brand story she's trying to create for her potential clients. Okay, so that's just something to consider. If you're kind of all over the place and posting about all sorts of different things in your life, you may want to consider opening up a personal account and having your business account function separately, so you can exist in 2 different places online. Now, for me personally, that's a lot to manage, and so I have actually turned to sharing my personal photos on my personal Facebook feed and keeping Instagram very related to business. Now, if something in my personal life happens that is very connected to my brand story, I might post that on my compliment page. But for the most part, that stays strictly business, because my overall goal is to craft a very beautiful story that invites my potential followers in. And if it's really all about me and all about what I'm doing today by, like, yay, I walked to work today, here's a picture of my new running shoes or something, that doesn't have anything to do necessarily with my brand nor my potential clients. Like, what do they care about my shoes? They're there to feel a certain way. And so I want to make sure that those pictures are evoking that kind of that kind of emotion I'm trying to get out of my people when they're interacting with my brand. So that said, when you are a service-based business, this can maybe seem a little bit more challenging because you don't have these physical products to take pictures of. But I will say that even as a product-based business where you do have physical goods to take a picture of, you still want to be able to communicate your why even more than your what. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, but he has a great book that's called Start With Why. And we actually talk about this in more depth in the course, but really understanding the why behind your brand is going to serve you so well in all of your marketing efforts, but especially on Instagram, because like in my case, anybody can buy jewelry from anywhere. Like you can go up the street to Target and buy something for much cheaper than what I'm selling on my site. But people buy from me because they value the why behind my brand, which is I donate a portion to underserved girls who are trying to go to college because of my teaching background. They understand that my why is we rise by lifting others, and so each piece comes with a compliment that they can give to somebody else to help uplift them. And that's why they buy a piece of my jewelry. So you need to figure out for your business what is the why of your brand, and then how do you communicate that visually on Instagram? That's the thing that you're trying to, that's the end goal. And then the last quick fix is for making your brand story more clear, is to make your interactions on Instagram an extension of your brand. So, for example, if Nikki Stern, health coach, is going around Instagram and let's say one of her friends posts a picture like scarfing on a pizza just themselves, you know, and she's just knee deep in pepperoni, right? And Nikki and then Nikki you know, comments on that picture, "Oh my goodness, that looks so delicious. I can't wait to dig into that pizza with you," then that is not an extension of her brand, clearly, because she's trying to help women eat healthier and feel better about themselves. So what happens that seems maybe really innocuous in interacting with her friend that way, because, you know, it's her friend. She knows her in real life. She knows what she's trying to do, and Nikki eats pizza sometimes too. She's a real person. However, the danger in that is that every time Nikki leaves a comment somewhere, her handle, Nikki Stern Health Coach, is showing up next to that comment. And so if someone goes, "Oh yeah, I really like this chick, she loves pizza," and they click on Nikki's link to go to her Instagram page, and they're going to say, "Oh wait, she's not at all about pizza," then that's not her person, and they're not going to follow her. Instead, on the flip side, if she is commenting on pictures that have beautiful food and fitness and spirituality and things that coordinate with her brand story, then on the flip side, she's leaving her handle, her name, next to her comments all over Instagram, creating kind of a trail that furthers her brand message. She's showing up in a place other than her own feed, because leaving comments on other people's feeds might get others to see your name, click on your name, and follow you based on the way that you're interacting. So that's just something to keep in mind that I think very few people think about, is that however you interact on Instagram, it's attached to your handle, which is probably your business. And your handle is like the way that you're showing up on Instagram. So for example, Nikki's is at Nikki Stern _ health coach, if that makes sense. My handle is at Shout Compliment. Susan's is at Susan Haro. Okay, so does that make sense, Susan? Do you see what I'm saying with that?
I absolutely do.
Okay.
And I mean, I think it really does harken back to, you know, paying very close attention to your trail on all social media, because people can find that and if it's not congruent with your brand, then there's a disconnect there. And this goes throughout your whole history, through all social media. But in this way, it sounds like people can find your handle and what you've said throughout that history. So it is really important to take care with your comments and not be, you know, so flippant. I think sometimes, you know, in the fastness of you know, it might be, I can see saying, "Oh my God, that pizza looks so delicious," and there's a healthy way to make it, you know.
Right.
You know, so that would be a more brand connect, like yes, and here's the healthy way to make a pizza, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect. So out of the chat room, I'm seeing that viewers want to see examples of bad Instagrams, and so I want to address that really quickly because I actually thought of putting in examples of bad Instagrams. However, that does not connect with my brand story, which is we rise by lifting others. So I didn't want to put anybody on blast for having an Instagram feed that doesn't look good, because I just think that that might be kind of rude. However, we do look at examples from what I used to do on Instagram as an example of not a good feed, because I left those, I haven't deleted. So if I go back enough, far enough into the shop compliment feed, I mean, you have to scroll back kind of deep, but you can see a very clear distinction between how I'm posting now and what it looked like before. And so I'm happy to share my own example of what a bad Instagram feed looks like from my own history. But calling out somebody else, I'm not sure if that's super appropriate on the webinar, because this might exist forever. So I'm happy to talk to people privately about that as well, if that's okay. Just not in the public forum.
And I know that Tracy's talking about, will you share how a service business can use Instagram visually, the kind of images we should use, and I think you'll integrate that into, because these are the same sort of principles as well. Yeah, great.
Yes, yeah, and I'll make sure to give some more service-based examples. So actually, I'm going to go back a couple slides. Each of these examples that I've shown are all service-based business owners. So Meditation Nikki offers meditation services. Unseen Heroes offers event planning services. Nikki Stern offers health coaching services, and I for Pretty, this next example for reason number 4, offers interior designing services. And she's actually out of the Bay Area too, Susan, which is, and I think you mentioned her in one of your case studies. I for Pretty, the woman behind this account is named Nicole, and she has exploded on Instagram in so many ways. She went from, I think in February she had about 3,000 followers. Now she's way over 30,000 after taking this course and learning the different ways she could put these in place. So these are all service-based examples that I'm using, and I'll be sure to weave some more of those examples in as we go. So reason number 4 where you might not be seeing the results that you're craving on Instagram is that you're not consistent. And so a couple of ways that you can improve your consistency would be to post every day at least 1 to 3 times. However, that said, you don't want to post any more than 1 time during about a 4 to 6 hour window. So when you're scrolling through your feed and you see several posts from the same person on Instagram, you probably have had this experience where you're like, okay, enough already, I get it, you're at Disneyland, awesome. That would be probably more appropriate for a Facebook album if you wanted to share a bunch of vacation photos, for example, at once. On Instagram, you don't want to clog the feed. That's kind of like the unspoken etiquette of Instagram. So if you post at least once a day, and probably not much more than 3 or 4 times a day, you are going to be staying top of mind in your current followers' feeds. Like, you're going to be showing up into the conversation, which is great. And they won't forget that you exist, because sometimes that's all it really takes, is reminding people, hey, I'm alive, I exist, this is what I do, remember me? And so doing that by posting every day is pretty essential. Posting consistently, also you want to pay attention to the times that you get the most engagement from your followers and post then. So in my situation, as a jewelry company, I know that my ideal clients are typically moms that are in their late 20s, early 30s. That's where I find a lot of my clients fit in that target demographic. And so if I know young moms or moms with young children are really loving my stuff, I want to be thinking, when are they going to be online? It's probably not going to be at 11 a.m. when they're in a meeting at work, and it's probably not going to be at 5:30 when they're picking their kids up from daycare and driving home and getting dinner started. They're not just browsing on their Instagram. However, at 7:30 or 8 after the kids have been fed and bathed and put to bed, my people are going to be active. So I'm really conscious about posting very first thing in the morning when I wake up local time, because that's when a lot of my people are on their phones. And I know this just based on trial and error, because, you know, I sometimes when I post in the middle of the day, I get no engagement at all. And so I'm like, okay, note to self, I won't post in the middle of the day anymore. And when I post later in the day, like 8 or 9 o'clock-ish, I get a lot of interaction. So that's when I'm trying to post. And you'll notice that, like, if you start following my feed, you'll see that that's when I show up most often on Instagram, or those times, because that's when I know my people are on and I want them to see my stuff. And then there are some apps that can help you manage your life, because being consistent and showing up every day on Instagram can really turn into a time suck. So this is actually very exciting, because as of this past Tuesday, like as in 2 days ago, 3 days ago, what's today? Today's Thursday, yeah, so two days ago, Instagram opened up their API, which is very fancy tech terms to mean that you can now post to Instagram from a third-party application. And that never used to be the case for the last 4 years that Instagram has been in existence. So, for example, if you are somebody who uses a scheduling tool like Hootsuite, for example, to manage all of your social media posts, Instagram was left off that list until Tuesday, like of this week. And I don't have all of the answers for that, because I'm still doing a lot of research to figure out what the implications of that mean. But as of this week, you are able to schedule out your posts to post directly to Instagram. So I'll be covering this more in the class as I get more information. But if you are interested in other apps that are helpful in reminding you when to post and planning out your pictures and your captions and whatever, you can check out, there's 2 apps that I know a lot of people like. One is called Latergram, and that's LATERGRAMME, and you can just Google that or check out that app in your app, like whatever your phone's app store is. And the other one is called Schedugram, SCHEDUGRA. I think that one's just M, but it might be NME, Schedugram. And yeah, so just Google those and check them out. And I know a lot of people like those and use those. People ask me all the time, do you use scheduling apps for Instagram? And you're not going to like this answer, probably, people listening, but the answer is no. And that means sometimes I wake up in the morning and I think, oh shoot, I need to post. What am I going to post? And I have to think about it. But it has become so ingrained in my daily business practice that it keeps me engaged in the platform. So what I've noticed that, like, I've used Hootsuite to schedule out Twitter posts, for example. And what ends up happening is that I never go into Twitter and interact with people when I'm scheduling stuff. I'm only posting. And part of the beauty of Instagram is interacting with the people who are commenting on your pictures, but also commenting on other people's pictures. And if I don't ever go into the app, then I'm never going to do that. So I try and block out a chunk of time in the morning and a chunk of time in the evening. And I've gotten fast enough where it's only about 10 to 20 minute chunks. It's not taking me all day in order to interact with the people who I'm trying to build relationships with. So that's just something to consider. Thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's the convenience factor when you can't do that, and then can you sort of split it up, like sometimes do scheduling and then sometimes go in later and interact, or is it important to interact as it's happening?
It doesn't have to be as it's happening, but definitely if people leave you comments. I mean, now there's days where I get so many comments and I miss some, and so like a couple days later I'll see it and I'll just say, oh hey, I saw your comment. Here's where you can find such and such product, or thank you for the feedback, or whatever. But so it doesn't have to be instantaneously at all. I don't think people require that. But the more interactive you can be, I think the more results you're going to see, because people like to feel like they're seen and heard, you know, like, and to know that there's a real person who exists behind this very polished feed that you are going to be creating. And I know that that is what often surprises and delights my customers. I always get, thank you so much for responding so quickly. And I'm like, really? Like, that's my job. Of course I'm going to respond to you. But the sad thing is that customer service has become so automated that people are used to communicating with robots. And so when you are able to jump into the actual app and have a real conversation with people, I think it goes a very, very long way in terms of snagging followers and getting them to buy into the story that you're creating and the brand that you're creating, so that eventually they'll buy your services. Because you know, people, like I said before, buy from who they like and trust. And how do you build that? You have to interact. I mean, I don't know if there's any other way to do it beside interacting. So I want to, remind people too, because I know that there's a lot of questions that are coming up in the chat room, that we are collecting all these questions and we're going to have a Q&A at the end. Yes. So just hang tight. We'll get to you, but I want to make sure.
I've got them all, so no worries. I've collected everything, so we're all set.
Awesome. So everybody, you're all good. You're in great hands. Let's move to reason number 5 why you might not be seeing results on Instagram. You're too focused on you, and that is a very direct way of saying you need to keep in mind your ideal customer or client. You need to be thinking about what they want as opposed to what feels good at this moment to post for you. So that kind of falls under the heading of, oh, my kid is so cute, he just lost his first tooth, I want to post that on my business feed. That's not what your customer necessarily wants, unless you're a dentist or unless you, teeth in some way, or losing teeth, or children have something to do with your brand's story. If you can't come up with a very good reason why your ideal customer wants to see that picture, then it doesn't belong in your feed. Okay? I also want you to think about not only what your ideal customer wants to see right now, but what would my ideal customer need to read today in my caption. So a couple of days ago, I posted a picture that said, you are doing better than you think you are. And I had so many people comment. I mean, I think like 50 people comment that said, thank you so much, I needed this right now. And how do I know what my potential followers or my ideal clients need to hear? It's really just all about observation. I watch the things that they post. I listen to the comments in my own feed. I check out the things that they are commenting on. And I realize that a lot of my clients are working mothers, and I know for a fact that working mothers often feel like there's just not enough of them to go around, and to be really good at their career and be really good at being a spouse or a mother or whatever. And so I posted, you're doing better than you think you are, and that got so many likes and so many comments because I was thinking about what my ideal customer needed at that moment, because it was kind of late at night too, probably when we're all just sort of decompressing from our days. Now on that day personally, I had an awesome day. I knew I was killing it that day. I was really on top of my game, and I was at a conference, and I was feeling really good. So that wasn't necessarily the thing I needed for me to post that at that moment, but I knew it could be what my potential clients needed. So really focus on them. Also, seek collaborations with other brands who have a similar ideal client. So if you are focused all on you and your business, it's going to be hard to branch out exponentially on Instagram and find more people. So I am a huge, huge, huge proponent of collaborating with other brands. And that could be brands who are in your same industry or complementary brands. So I showed you before Nikki Stern, health coach, as an example, and she is somebody who I've collaborated in the past. Now, that doesn't seem like it would be a likely fit, a jewelry company with a health coaching company, but we have a very similar message about helping people feel good. So we created, we posted or cross-posted a picture and said, go and follow my friend Nikki, and she said, go and follow my friend Melissa, and we got some of each other's followers, because the person who's attracted to your brand's why, if you find somebody who has a similar why, they're going to be attracted to that brand too, and that's just a way of branching out your network. If you're too focused on you, you're always posting stuff that's about your business, your business, your business, your business, and it's not going to be as quick of a way to grow in terms of getting in front of more eyes. So you can see in this example, this is from an account, Steffi Now, and Stephanie, the woman behind this account, is a yoga instructor here in Sacramento, and she is the absolute queen of collaborations, but I'll talk about that in just a sec. You can see that her picture is of her dancing in a beautiful, bright, airy living room with her son, and he's so cute. She posts a lot about the balancing act of motherhood, and a lot of her followers are yogi moms, so she knows that that is something that attracts her people to her brand story. And you can see there's 73 comments. Well, first of all, there's 2,065 likes. That's gigantic. And then she has 73 comments, and then Daniels or whatever says, you're so inspirational. I want to be a mom like you one day, Steffi Now. Really great stuff. That is exactly the kind of outcome you want by communicating with your people visually. She knows that her people are moms, and she knows how to talk to them, and she knows the kind of pictures to post in order to get that result. So one of the ways she does this is through collaboration. So even though she's a yoga teacher, she partners with brands who have a very similar vibe of like balance or yogi values of loving yourself and treating others with kindness and very zen. And so she will sometimes post a product picture of her wearing a watch, or her wearing, just kind of like a celebrity would do, like Michael Jordan with Nike, or, I think, I don't know why this is the example that came to my mind, but Drake and Sprite, which that's so nerdy, but whatever.
What came to mind? What is it?
Drake, he's a rapper, and he has a Sprite commercial, like the soda. Oh. So stupid. But, when you have celebrities partnering with other brands, that's just like a collaboration, right? It's just a partnership, and that's a way that you can get in front of more eyes and break into a new demographic. So Steffi Now and I have worked together before, and she bought a pair of earrings for me and then wore them and showed the little compliment card that came inside of the box. And on that day, I probably got at least 100 new followers, because her people vibe with her message, and she vibes with my message, so it stands to reason that her people would also vibe with my message, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is a really lovely example for people who want to know how to integrate the personal with the professional, because this is such a great example of the both of those kind of commingling here. That and it's a beautiful photo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's really a nice way where you're, and you also said earlier, Melissa, which, thinking about like all the time, like what do my people need versus like, is this a cute photo of me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
Oh, that's a great photo, I want to, but thinking it's sort of taking the emphasis off not what do I want to post, what I think is really great or beautiful, but even if there's got to be the intersection of I think it's really beautiful and I think that my people will think so too. And does it further my brand? Are you going to talk more in your course about how to find those collaborations with other brands who have a similar ideal, like how to find those people on Instagram and then approach them? Is that something that you cover? Yeah, perfect.
Yes, and not only do we talk about it, we spend a whole day on just collaborations, but also there are nearly 500 people who have already taken the course, and they collaborate on a private Facebook page that everybody who is in the course gets access to forever. It's lifetime access into this Facebook group. So there's constant collaborations that are happening with other people who have taken the course. So they really understand, like they have the same mission and the same goal in that collaboration, which has been tremendous for a lot of people. So yeah,
so
I mean, collaboration is
collaborators right there, but even before
yes.
you see people that you don't know. That's really wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And there's actually a bonus reason why you might not be seeing interaction. So I know we talked about it's the 5 reasons why you might not be seeing results on Instagram, but I wanted to add a 6th reason. So this is a free bonus for all of you. You are maybe not asking for interaction, and this seems like kind of a no-brainer, except for I wasn't doing it forever, and once I started doing it, it created so much more of an opportunity to foster relationships through Instagram. So quick fixes for asking for interaction is to ask your followers questions. Do a survey. Ask them what they like, you know, one option over another. Like what do you like better, option A or B, or color A or color B, and ask people to leave you comments in that regard. You can create calls to action in your captions where you're asking your people excuse me, sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat. You might ask your people to click the link in your bio. I know we were talking about that earlier, Susan. And then, or it could be go and check out so-and-so's page and send them a little love. They're having a hard day today, or whatever, but asking for interaction. You might ask your followers to tag others for a reason. So this is one of my favorite strategies, is to say, for example, I'm trying to think of one out of my own. Okay, so like during Valentine's Day, most of my clients are women, and on Valentine's Day, they are not going to be buying necessarily for themselves. Their significant others will be buying for them. And so I said, tag somebody who might need a little nudge in the right direction if this is the gift that you want. And so I had a lot of men start buying after I posted that, because they were being tagged in my Instagram photos with very clear instructions on where to go to buy that thing that their wife or girlfriend or whatever wanted. And those aren't necessarily my clients, my target customers who are following me on Instagram, but the people who are following me might tag somebody else, and that person could eventually follow me. Or like, sometimes I'll post something about friendship and it'll say tag your best friends. And so one of the ways that, or one of like kind of the etiquettes of Instagram is to, if you want somebody to see the picture that you're seeing in your feed, you tag them in the comments and it'll show up in their notifications, so they click on it and then they can see that picture. Oftentimes, if somebody's tagged in a picture or in the comments or the captions and they like what that picture is about, they'll follow you. And that is a really great way of finding more of your people, asking the current people to share it with their friends. And then you can also ask for suggestions or input. So this example that I have on the screen is from Jennifer E. Snyder, and she's a writer and an author, and she actually was part of the case study that, Susan, you published, I think it was last week. She's grown her following tremendously, and one of the things that she decided to do on her Instagram is to hand write out a question, and you can see this is called the 100 Days of Discussion, the 100-Day Project, and she created this hashtag for herself, and she, and you can see it says 54 out of 100, so this is day 54 out of 100 days. She asked her followers questions, and so each one was written on a cute little, note card like this, and that's her own handwriting, and she would take them around town, and so sometimes her pictures would be of a question laying on a desk with her computer. She's a podcaster as well, so maybe it had like her headphones, or like this one, it's just up against the sky with a tree in her own hand, and it says, what was the highlight of your week? So if you scroll down on that picture, you could see there was a whole bunch of people who are following her who were responding, and she was getting to know them and building relationships. And then after she did this 100-day discussion project, she had a course on how to how to pitch a magazine or something, because she is a she's a writer and she does this all the time. And that course outsold any of her other courses, and a lot of that was due to the fact that she had built a pretty substantial following on Instagram and started sharing, when it was time, her products to sell. So this is an example of another service-based person who has visually figured out a way to ask a question. Now, she's very, as an author, it makes more sense that she would have a really great idea of the things that she needed to write in terms of captions in order to connect with her people, but she figured out how to take those words and make them visual in a really appealing manner in her picture, if that makes sense, by writing it on a card and taking that card into a beautiful location for her to photograph. And this is all taken on her phone as well. So thoughts about that?
Oh, I think that's really, I think that's really terrific. Somebody was asking a question, about the caption. So let me just flip over to my question.
Yes, sure.
Because that was about, I think it was Sherry. It was Sherry. She said, I see on Steffi Now's post that sometimes she uses several paragraphs of text. Can you talk about how much and what kind of text we should be using?
In the captions, I'm assuming, is what she means?
Yeah.
Yes. I like to vary my caption lengths because certain pictures need a little bit more explanation and certain ones don't. So sometimes I'll have if you look at Steffi Now's right here, she just says, I want early bird dance parties to last forever. One sentence, that's a really short one. Other times she will write out something very, it's almost like a mini blog post, to be honest. It's pretty lengthy, and I would say vary it and try it out and see what happens with your people, because some people like that really long interaction and some people don't, and you know your clients better than I would know your clients. So I'm a big fan of just seeing what works. And I do think that one of the reasons why Steffi Now does so well on Instagram is because of this variation, that there's times when she really captions her pictures in a very lengthy way and really goes into great detail. She's a fantastic writer as well, so that's kind of showcasing a little bit something personal to her. And then other times, this photo of her holding her son is just so beautiful that it conveys the emotion she needs it to convey without saying all that much. So there's not one hard rule for that, but I would say try out both and see how your people respond. And that's just Sherry, just try it out. I was going to say, I had another thought about that, but it'll come back to me. I lost my train of thought for a second.
Great.
So,
I know you're going to talk in a little bit about how people who are Instagram virgins can start. So
yes.
A couple of questions there, so I know you'll address that when it's the right time.
Yeah, I totally will. One of the things I want to make sure that we drive home before people have to sign off today is that your goal is likely that you need to sell more stuff. That's probably why we're all in business. It's why we're all here. It's why we all hustle. And that could be selling more product or selling more services or getting more people into your brick and mortar. And so you must really get good at telling your brand story visually. So one of the best ways I've heard to connect to make Instagram make sense is if you think of your picture as the illustration of a children's book, what would the words be that tell the story of that picture, or vice versa? If you know the thing you want to say, like some people start with the words first. I know the thing that I want to write out in my caption. How would I illustrate this if I were writing a children's book with pictures? Then you can come up with the visual kind of backwards in that way. So telling your brand story visually is definitely key. Showcasing your brand in the most beautiful way possible, really meaning the aesthetic of your pictures looks beautiful. You really want to convey the story that you're building for your followers in a way that's pleasing to the eye. And then also building relationships with your followers is absolutely key. So I've worked with a lot of business owners, like almost 700 business owners since January, talking about this relationship building on Instagram and how quality of follower is so much more important than quantity of follower. And what that means is there are ways that you can buy followers on Instagram, like robot accounts that, you know, pay $50 and then you can have 100 more followers for your account. And I always suggest against those because you're not building a relationship. Robots don't buy your goods. And so having a really high following doesn't really serve you well at all if those people aren't ever booking your services or buying your things. So it's much better to have 3 high-quality followers on Instagram than 3,000 who will never buy your goods. See, you know what I'm saying? So in order to find those quality people, it does take some intention. It does take some time. But it's totally possible, and the results can happen. They happen sort of exponentially. So once you hit like 1,000 followers, it's so much quicker to get your second 1,000 followers. It's always that first building up to that milestone that takes some time and some thought and some practice and figuring out what your people like, but it's totally doable, and that's how you're going to net the most quality of followers. So with that said, you're in the right place if you are hungry for more. Susan mentioned that I have a course about Instagram, and we're going to get to Q&As in just a second, so hang tight on that. But I want to tell you a little bit more about what's offered in the course, because this is where we really dive deep into the things that we've talked about in here, plus so much more. So some of the things that you'll learn if you are interested in the course is how to craft your bio so that people want to buy or book your services from you. How to communicate your brand values through image, so the real nitty-gritty how-to find your ideal customer on Instagram, because that can seem sort of like an elusive thing, like, okay, I know you're out there in those 500 million people, but I'm trying to find you and I'm not really sure where. So we talk about how to do that. How to properly use hashtags, direct messaging, captions, comments, and geotags, which we didn't get to in this webinar, but we spend a lot of time there in terms of hashtagging and direct messaging and captioning, etc. We learn how to find and collaborate with key influencers or people who have a big following on Instagram and can influence your people as well, how to negotiate those collaborations and really make them of good use to you and the people you're collaborating with, how to manage your time on social media, and much more. You also get lifetime access to 21 very, very actionable lessons that are implementable at your own pace. So the course does begin on August 17th, and that's when you get the first email, but you have these instructions, these lessons forever, and so if you can't get to something on a certain day or you're on vacation or whatever, you're able to access them at your own pace. There's an audio of each lesson so you can learn on the go if you have to drive carpool or commute into your other job or whatever the case may be. While you're grocery shopping, you can listen to the lessons as well. There are downloadable PDFs to accompany the lessons to help keep your learning organized and useful at your fingertips. There's also, like I mentioned earlier in the webinar, there's access to our private Facebook community, and I think that's probably one of the greatest values of this entire course, because there are hundreds of other business owners where they're collaborating, they're sharing insights, they're asking questions, we cheer each other on. It is such a beautiful, collaborative, cooperative environment. And when I set out to create this course, I was hoping to create the kind of community that I was so used to creating in my classroom when I was a teacher, and didn't really know how that would translate online. And I have to say, I cannot praise this community enough, this Facebook private group where we share our thoughts about Instagram, because that community has definitely translated online, and they are so, so willing to support one another. And I'm in there during those 3 weeks with free group coaching and collaboration with me, answering questions and making sure that everybody is feeling confident and empowered in growing their social media on Instagram. So if if you're okay with that, Susan, I'm going to open this up to a Q&A. For those of you who are interested in registering for the course, you can do so now at this link, this bit.do/IG course. And during the Q&A, we're going to post up a really special offer that I'm going to work on right now as we're answering questions. So if, Susan, you want to moderate the questions, and I'd be happy to start answering them.
And I do want to just say, I just want to say about your course too. With the course, it's very thorough, and because I've already started to take a peek in the back end, Melissa gave me access to the course, so I'm going to be taking it along with you. It's very extremely thorough, and it works just as well for service and product-based businesses. So it's about the kind of finding those images, if you're a service-based business, that represent your values and the feel of you. So it's not always necessarily, if I'm correct in this, Melissa, something that's it may not be as direct as somebody who's posting up a product. It's about a feel, and also about inspiring people into action to what you have. Is that correct? Would I be correct in saying something like that?
That is absolutely correct. I really did a lot of research in how to make sure that I wasn't just talking to product-based businesses, because it can seem at the surface level, well, you built up your following in the easy way because you have products, when a lot of product-based people are saying, like, oh, it's so easy for you as a service-based person because you don't have to always be product, like there's so many more things that you can post. So it's really about marketing your story, telling your story, and applying it to your business as you see fit. And I give lots of examples and lots of ideas of how that can be applied to any business model. So you're right, it's not geared to just one type of business. It's more about marketing principles, and then taking those marketing principles and applying them to Instagram as a visual platform.
Yeah, I think there's that's where there's a little bit of a leap for somebody who's in a service-based business or a musician. I have seen a lot of musicians too, who have even posted, a little bit, the 15 seconds that you have for a video, you get to hear that, them on the road. So there's ways to the sort of the behind the scenes. There's a whole strategy of things that are appealing to people on Instagram that I know you cover in the course, such as peeking behind the scenes that people love, things like that can apply to everyone.
Right.
Blanca asks, how often is the group coaching with Melissa during the course? You said you'd pop in. Is there a regular time, or is that something that you just pop in when you see people need help?
Yeah, I'm in there during those 3 weeks as often as possible throughout the day. So, like if I'm eating lunch, I'll pop out, but then I pop back in, and it's pretty, like, you have very easy access to me. It's not at a certain time. It's, if you have a question, the whole group actually is super knowledgeable, because it covers. There are 2 other cohorts that have run this year who are still actively posting every day in that Facebook group. So somebody might swoop in and answer your question if you had something that you were asking, but I'm in there constantly during those 3 weeks, making sure that everybody is, feeling empowered and getting their questions answered and whatever. So whether or not,
sorry.
What's that?
So are you answering the questions like a Facebook room, or is there actual live group coaching with you on the phone, or is it mainly you're popping in to the group?
Yeah, it's happening in the Facebook group. And it might seem weird, like for those of you who are not super familiar with the Instagram platform, it would be like, I know the question has come up before, why are you hosting the group over on Facebook as opposed to Instagram? And that's just because the Instagram platform doesn't yet, I don't know if they ever will, I don't have some inside track on them, but there's no way for a group to interact if you have more than 15 people. The only way you can interact with a group is up to 15 people, and there's like 400 people in our Facebook group. So that's why I've moved it over there in order to collaborate. So yeah, I'm in that group, and you have access to me that way. You can send me an email if something's like really dire or whatever, but there's not any calls, no, unless we need to have a call. I actually did one call during the first cohort after that wrapped that everybody had access to, and then I posted it into the Facebook group. But it's pretty much all housed in Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Okay, great. So you get your questions answered by either Melissa or other people. She's popping in there all the time within those 3 weeks. Also, Denise says the link doesn't appear to be working, but Blanca had said, yeah, it's all case sensitive, so it's bit.do in lowercase / capital I, capital G, small c, OURSE. So it's all case sensitive in order to get to that link and register. So within those 3 weeks, that's the intensive time where you're going to be supporting people in your Facebook group where there's a lot of interaction. And then after that, too, it sounds like the Facebook group with the 500 people who are your instant collaborators are there and available, too, because they've had so much experience. And it's product-based and service-based people. So they've had a lot of experience, and it's a very generous community in terms of helping each other and figuring things out and being creative.
Absolutely, and I still am involved in that group even after the 3 weeks is over. It's just maybe not quite as frequently where it's all day, every day. It will be, I check that definitely daily, but I'm also getting married in November, so I'll be on my honeymoon, which I probably won't be in the group during that time. That's after the course already wraps. But yeah, I check it constantly. I have other moderators in there that are helping, so you definitely get your needs met. For sure.
Yeah, so let me go to some of the other questions too, and I'm going to get to everyone, so no worries. Troika was saying she has products and services. Does she need 2 accounts, one for each would be best, or is it better to be combined?
That's a great question. I think it depends on if you have a different customer for each thing, so if your service was geared toward I don't know, let's say a yoga instructor, and then you also had a line of yoga wear like leggings or like workout pants or something like that, I think it totally could be housed on the same account because they go together. They're very complementary. If you have 2 completely separate businesses, like you're a dog walker and then you also have like a high-end handbag line, those 2 things don't seem to like really coordinate, so I probably would do 2 separate. But if it's all possible, I would try and house it under 1 account just to make your life easier, because the more things you have to manage, the harder it is.
Yeah, and the other thing that I know is important to Troika and probably to a lot of other people is, can you upload photos from your desktop or do you have to use your smartphone? So I think some people are very geared, are not as geared yet to their smartphones.
Yes, totally. So this is a very new thing because it used to be up until Tuesday of this week that you were not able to post from your desktop very easily to Instagram. There were a couple of workarounds, but they were very clunky and not easy to do. So your phone was the way to do it. However, since Tuesday, I believe what you're able to do is post from a scheduling tool like Hootsuite. Now, I do have to mention again that I'm not certain about all of these things because they just happened on Tuesday. I'm still researching on that. But
I know you can post from Grambler. But there's some issues with that because I was using it. Maybe some issues with that, but there are apps that let you post from your desktop.
Yes, and I mean they are kind of clunky. I also know that people will put their photos into like their Dropbox on their computer, and then they open up Dropbox on their phone and post from there. So there's ways to like work around to move your computer photo. Like if you have all of your headshots or whatever on your computer, you don't have to move them over to your phone first. But I'm pretty sure that as of Tuesday, you will be able to post from your desktop. Yeah, but this is like all very, 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 very new. Like not even all the companies have like figured out their API yet in order to do this. So we will be covering this in the course because it doesn't start until next week, and I'm going to make sure to update the materials to cover that as we are all learning the new updates to Instagram in that way.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Emmy is very excited she's in. Woohoo! So yay! Congratulations, Emmy. And I see other people are coming in too. I've got to jump back to the questions for a second, and then I'll continue to congratulate you. Let's see what else people asked in the very beginning. There's some questions that are like super technical. I'm not sure we want to get into all of that kind of like how-to things. What do you think, Melissa? Or more?
Well, yeah, I mean, let's take a couple and we'll see where it goes. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so Tanya says, I'm wanting to brand myself separate from my business. I'm a life coach and author. My company posts positive messages and memes. Should I change the name or start a brand new Instagram account?
So if I understand correctly, she wants to. Can you read the question one more time so I make sure?
So she's wanting to brand herself separately from her current business. So right now she's an author, and the company. It sounds like it's IG. Her posts are more positive messages and memes. So should she continue to be one brand or separate that out?
Yeah. Okay. So likely she already has followers on the account that she's been using. So I would suggest changing her handle of the existing account, so you can do that in your profile. You just change the handle to be something more in line with the brand that she wants to have. That way she doesn't lose the followers that she's already gained. And I think that positive messaging is not such a far cry away from health coaching, because I think there's a lot of positive messaging in health coaching that you could make that transition pretty easily without losing a ton of followers. They will just now start seeing a different kind of post from you, and then your handle will be different. But unless you're doing something that's like completely in just a totally different industry that has no connection to the one that you were doing before, I would really suggest against starting from scratch if you've already built a substantial following. You know.
Jess is actually. How does she or he get the $50 off?
Oh, so at the bottom of that little feature, it says use code can't wait at checkout. So when you go to that link BitDo IG course, it'll take you to the page where you purchase. And so upon checkout, there's a little discount code section where you can type in CANTWAIT, and it should take the $50 off.
Great.
Yeah. And this is just, I should say that discount's only for people who are joining us live, which is kind of exciting. So thank you for hanging with us.
Yeah, thank you. So let's see. Let me jump back to some of the other questions. So R. Lee asks, does IG offer text-only function like Facebook so that I can say what's going on, or is it all photos?
It's all photos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all, I mean, that's where the like the Insta comes from, like, you know, an old instant camera, and you know, gramming is, it's about photos.
Yeah, and then
all photos.
Here she says, given your experience is yes, so yes, you have to take a picture of what you want to say and post it. It's not just verbal. It's mainly picture oriented that attracts the person, and then they would read what you wrote. So given your experience, is it efficient in a small market, plus or minus $1 million in the service industry compared to a product industry, where the difference is in-person business compared to mail order, and your market is all around the world? Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it's most efficient for, right?
If
a small business that's all around the world, that's worldwide.
The
question is about
again, because it said it's like, is it still efficient for a local business where you're not reaching people all over the world, right? They're in a small market, a local.
Well, I think their market is all around the world. It's for a industry. Well, I don't know. It says, okay. Given your experience, is Instagram efficient for a small market, for a service industry compared to a product industry, where the difference is an in-person business compared to mail order? I'm not sure.
Yes.
I think,
The way that I'm understanding that is, like, if you have a small service-based industry that's based local, so face-to-face time, like maybe a therapist or somewhere where you're not reaching people all around the world, is it still useful? And the answer is absolutely 1,000,000% yes, because you can still be serving people around the world by posting information that they might find useful and still attract your local people because of the reputation that you've created for yourself online. So 1,000,000% absolutely. In fact, I have a lot of people in the course who are like MFTs, therapists, and they have built their clients locally because they feel like they've gotten to know potential clients on Instagram. So this one example I have is of a therapist who she got a client email her the other day and said, I know this might sound weird, but I feel like I know you and I connect with you and I'm looking for a therapist, so is it weird that I found my therapist on Instagram? And she was like, oh my gosh, it's working. This
I
is
love
so
it.
awesome. Yeah,
It's a
and
new world.
yeah, it's just another way of building a relationship with a potential client. You know, so like if they might find you on Google prior to Instagram, now they might find you on Instagram locally. And there's ways that you can target your local audience too with hashtagging and stuff, and we totally go over that in the course.
That's great. That's great. I want to welcome in, I think it's Cara and Denise, who actually has a question too.
Yeah.
She says, prior to the course, what should we do as a prerequisite? For example, a website with an opt-in page and a link back. Are there things that you need to do to prepare? Because I think there's a lot of people who are beginners who may not even be that far in. I think you start where you are, but let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so upon registration for the course, I do send a couple of welcome emails that tell you the things that you should have in place before we begin. So you'll get all the information, but just as a heads up, you definitely want to have an Instagram account open. So you want to download Instagram to your phone, which is the way that you can, like the only way to set up an account is through your phone. So you have to do it that way. Whether or not you manage it on your phone, that remains to be seen, but it does have to open up on your phone. So you download the app and you want to, set up your account. It's probably a good idea that you've posted a couple of pictures just to get the feel of how the platform works. It's pretty user-friendly, and anytime that you get stuck in terms of how to do something on Instagram, not necessarily like the strategy, but the how-to tech-wise, their help desk is very, very, very user-friendly, and it's all online, so like all their whatever. So that is probably number one in terms of setting up an Instagram. Then you definitely, number two, want to have some place to send your people who you are attracting on Instagram. Now, if you don't have a website built and you don't have a newsletter list yet, it's pretty easy to build a newsletter. There's lots of free programs. I use MailChimp still, and it's not even like the top of the line system in order to reach your people through a newsletter, but it is free up to 2,000 subscribers, so it's great for beginners. And you could set up a MailChimp account really easily and get a URL through them to send people to an opt-in page, and that one is very, very user-friendly. So you can do that. If you don't want to have a website either, you can always write "coming soon" in your and just start building an Instagram following. But it is nice, like if your goal is to sell something, capturing email addresses is probably the smartest thing that you want to do. So I'd say at the minimum, have an email newsletter.
Hillary's asking, if you can't register today, how long does the $50 savings last?
The $50 is just until the call is over, because it's not going to even be available in the replay. Yeah, it won't be posted. So that will end in I don't know, however long we're on this call. But you can still register if you need to. It's just at the regular rate of $177. So what you guys are getting with the $50 off is the early bird registration rate, which ended last week. So I'm just extending early bird to just the people who are live on this call. And then the actual registration then closes for good on August 11th. So there's a couple of days to get in. So if your friends are listening to the replay and they need to get into the course, they still can do that until the 11th. And then the next time I'm offering the class isn't until January of 2016. So this is the last one to get in before the holidays.
Great. So, okay, so let's see. Welcome, Jessica, Eric, Terry, Nola, Tony. Wonderful. I'm going to flip back to more of the questions.
Perfect.
So, let's see. I'm seeing. Curious about if you use other social media to promote your business. Is it mostly Instagram? Use your sole media outlet for your business?
For mine personally?
Yes.
Or for business? Okay.
Like, I think what people are asking, Sherry's asking this, but other people probably want to know, like, do you have to do every social media, or can Instagram be your go-to gal?
Yeah.
And, you know?
Yeah, so I do put most of my energy just into Instagram simply because I don't have the bandwidth, as a human being, to do everything to the way that I would want to do everything. Now, that said, I know that for my business, it would be smarter if I probably used Instagram and Pinterest because there's still a lot of traction there, and a lot of users are going there to search things. I don't spend a lot of time doing things on Facebook aside from networking in Facebook groups. So I'm not really spending a lot of time posting to my Facebook page as a business, even though I do have one. I'm not spending a lot of time on Twitter because for my industry, the conversion from Twitter for a product-based business is it's pretty abysmal, actually. It's not that great. So I don't spend a lot of time either there. So because I've been seeing a lot of great results on Instagram, that is where I'm spending most of my time, and although I do have presence on other ones, I'm not showing up on there nearly as much anymore since I've been really focused on Instagram because the conversion's so great. And you know, that may change as the landscape of social media changes as well. Like, I don't know what's in the future. I don't know if Instagram will ever change their algorithm and you know, you'll have to pay for all your posts to get seen. I'm not sure. I am very happy with the results I've gotten on Instagram, so I want to ride this wave as long as possible. And you know, who knows? 2 years from now, there may be another new thing. But from historically looking at this, I think that Instagram is going to be around for quite some time, considering they are the only platform that Facebook has ever acquired and purchased. So that's kind of a huge deal. So now they have all the power of the Facebook servers and marketing.
Another thing is that it's still pretty new and great, so they haven't controlled Instagram like Facebook is directing who can see your feed, so it doesn't go out to all of your followers. It might only reach 20 people or 50 people, whereas Instagram right now, you're still on the ground floor of it while there aren't any controls. So you have this huge marketplace for you that's virtually untapped, but that's growing super fast. Like you and I were talking about, the stats were 300 million, and now it's 500 million. I mean, it's already jumped up to several million people, and all the celebrities are using it too, obviously, because of the great reach.
Right, exactly. And that reach is just so huge as of right now, where you don't have to pay to get any of your posts seen. I don't know if that will ever change. I have heard reports, though, that Instagram, the founders, that they wrote it into their contract that they don't want the platform changing very much because they love the instant snap on the go kind of feel and the community that's being built on Instagram. That's like this new exciting thing where pretty much everybody's on there right now, you know? So it's very exciting, like you said.
Julie was asking the fee for the course. So it's normally $177 minus the $50 while we're on the call, which will not be available after we sign off or on the replay, which is $127. And Maria and let's see, Maria and someone else were asking, well, how do I get started on Instagram? They're total newbies. Yeah. Okay,
so the way to get started is you go to your app store on your phone. So if you have an iPhone, I think it's just called the iPhone App Store. If you have an Android, I think it's called like the Play Market or something like that. But wherever you would download your apps, you're going to go in there and you're going to download the Instagram app for free onto your phone. and then it'll ask you to create a username and a password to create a new account. And your username turns out to be your handle. So it's the way that people know you on Instagram. So for example, mine is @shopcompliment because that's the URL of my business. Susan's is @SusanHaro. And you can choose whatever handle that you want. It might be your name, especially if you're in a service-based industry. It may be your company name. Okay, so you choose whatever that is. You create a password, and then it'll walk you through a couple of screens on how to get started. And so it'll show you, like, click on this button to post your first picture. And there's not that many features in Instagram, so it's pretty user-friendly. The strategy is the stuff that we're going to be going over in the course. The how-to is pretty simple. If you have a smartphone, you can just kind of click through and figure out how to post a picture pretty easily. So you would just click on, I mean, it's hard to tell you if you're not actually in the app, but there's like an icon of a little camera, and you click on that and you post your pictures. It goes right to, it like pulls from your camera roll, so from your phone, and it asks you to choose the picture you want to post, and then it has you write a caption, and then you're good. That's how you do it. It's pretty simple, yeah.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. Unless there are other questions that I haven't answered, just pop them back up into the feed. But really, this is a wonderful opportunity for all of you who maybe don't like other social media platforms. I mean, like in order to be effective now on Facebook, you really have to do Facebook advertising, which can be pretty pricey. I know because I've done it. So yeah. It's quite a big investment. Whereas on Instagram, you are not making any kind of financial investment right now, which is, I think, a huge plus.
Yes.
And if you wanted to use Facebook in conjunction with Instagram, you could drive people from Facebook to Instagram if you have a wide reach and are still getting a reach on Facebook. But right now, this is a platform that is really working for people and brands to really be able to grow their business, whether it's service-based or product-based, really fast, and to be able to have that opportunity instead of advertising, that it's this incredible opportunity where, like Melissa, you say you make 5 figures a month, and a lot of other people do too, 5 and 6 figures a month on Instagram only.
Yes.
So that's pretty remarkable. Anne was saying, as a writer of fantasy, what can she take a picture of? So, and I know you had some really great, we profiled some writers in the blog post, but maybe you can address that for writers and people who have webinars, people that may not instantly know what the visual might be. But we talked a little bit about this, about how to create that brand feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you think about who are the people that you're really trying to sell to. So as a fantasy fiction writer, you want people who are going to be attracted to a certain kind of story, a certain kind of look. There's probably some artwork that your ideal reader is going to be interested in. So if you, maybe let's say one of the strategies you could use is to pull an excerpt from your book, like from a chapter that you're working on, to really, because the people are following you because of the things that you write, and then think, how am I going to illustrate this? So maybe, I don't know what your fantasy books are about, but I'm just going to throw out there like a dragon. Maybe there's an excerpt that's about a dragon or something, and it could be a picture of a dragon. It could be like a drawing, even just like a little kid drawing, if that fits with the feel of what that book is about or what your readers gravitate toward. Without knowing specifics about your business, it's hard to give you a specific answer. But really thinking about how can I visually express the feeling I'm trying to convey. How do I visually express the feeling I'm trying to convey? So, for example, this morning, Susan, you mentioned the webinar thing. What I could have done on Instagram is put a little, text over a picture that said webinar today at 10 a.m. Pacific time. and everybody join us. And I could have posted that, but it probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of interaction. Instead, I know I'm trying to reach entrepreneurs and writers and makers and other business owners, and so I posted a picture of a really beautiful white airy desk with a computer on it that says love, and because I know that that's what my followers who are attracted to the business side of my company are looking for. So I illustrated it in a way that would give a business owner the feeling of really having a beautiful workspace, and it's aesthetically appealing, and I can't wait to get started at work and sit down at my desk and type away, and that's what that picture says. And then in the captions, I wrote, there's a webinar at 10 a.m., join us, blah, 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 blah. So
yeah, it's a great illustration, because it's the image that's going to attract them, not the advertisement.
Exactly.
Image, and that sort of back ending, it's sort of putting it in the back end. It's like, here's this beautiful image, and if you want to learn how to do this with all of us, come join us on the webinar, because obviously people on Instagram want to grow their following and grow their income on Instagram as well. So
right.
But that's
I have another
exactly
example.
Right?
Oh. Right, exactly. So if I could give another example really quick, Nike is actually really, really brilliant at this. So Nike almost never posts pictures just of their shoes or their products, where it's just that. They post pictures of athletes in very extreme athletic situations, like running up a mountain, or with like a face full of sweat, or like somebody at the top of an Olympic podium with their hands up in the air, or something that exudes the feeling of conquering or victory, or working really hard. And then because you believe in that thing, in that feeling, in that emotion, then they'll talk about the product in the caption. But they're selling the feeling and the emotion. It's not as literal as like, here's a picture of my product, here's a picture of my product. Every now and then only do they do that. They're more posting about like the ideal thing that their customers are looking for by buying their products. It's the emotion that their customers are seeking.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I mean, it is a little bit, there is a little bit of thought that goes into it. You definitely have to think, how can I visually represent the emotion I'm trying to convey? And if you're Nike, I want to convey victory and being the top of your game. Well, what does that look like? It looks like somebody hiking up a mountain, or I don't know. That's the best example I can do.
Yeah, no, I think that's
my head.
I think that's great. Anne's also asking, can you use other people's art? Is that what you were saying in the beginning, that now you can take third-party pictures and put them in there?
Oh, okay. No, that's actually a great question to distinguish. So the third-party stuff means that a third-party company, for example, like Hootsuite or Edgar or Buffer or one of these scheduling tools, you can post from another website directly onto Instagram. So, like, when you're on, let's say you're reading something online on NewYorkTimes.com, and there'll be a bunch of social sharing buttons below, and it'll say share this on Facebook, pin this on Pinterest, share this on LinkedIn, and you can click that, and it'll go directly to your page, or like to Twitter or to Facebook, and it'll show up there. Before Tuesday, Instagram was never on those social sharing buttons. You couldn't post from somewhere else. You actually had to post from your account, from your phone, not from some other place on the web. So that's what that means with third-party apps. Now you're going to be able to post pictures from elsewhere on the web. Okay, now in terms of posting other people's pictures, that gets into intellectual property. It's a very dicey thing. So the rule of thumb, the etiquette on Instagram, is to ask permission to share other people's photos. And typically what you'll find is that most people are willing to share their photos with credit given. So today the picture that I posted, that wasn't actually my real desk. This last picture I posted on my Instagram account. It comes from, I think it's called Charm and Gumption. And I tagged them. I said regram via @Charm and Gumption. So I'm giving Charm and Gumption credit for her photo that shows up on my feed, so it's not insinuating that I was the one that took that picture. And then what happens is that, I have all of these followers who are going to then click on Charmin Gumption and see her feed and may follow her. And that's why etiquette-wise, it's typically okay if you ask permission, and most people are very willing to allow you to share their photos because it just means more people are seeing their photos. So for the fantasy book that I was talking about, yeah, maybe you find a really cool picture of that dragon or whatever it is on Instagram. You can take a screenshot on your phone of that picture and repost it on your own feed, but with credit given to the person who drew it or to the person who took that. I mean, well, nobody's taking an actual picture of a dragon, so it would be somebody who drew it.
Maybe they are.
Yeah. So whoever illustrated that original artwork, you definitely want to give them credit. And some people might not be cool with you sharing that. And if that's the case, then you take down the picture. You say, thank you, I'm so sorry, and take it down. But as a rule of thumb, typically, if you give credit, people are okay with that. But you always want to ask first, just in case.
Mm-hmm. How are we on time for you in terms of, I know we've got a couple more questions.
Oh, yeah, I'm okay to stay on a couple more minutes to answer questions. If you're okay with it, I'm fine.
Okay, Denise says, when we're trying to collaborate with another Instagrammer or shop, should we DM them, email them, comment on one of their images? What's the etiquette?
Yeah, great question, Denise. So I think that building a relationship with the person who we're trying to collaborate with first is always key. So I've, people will reach out to me to collaborate with me, and first they might like some of my pictures and then comment on some of my pictures, and then maybe a couple of days later they'll direct message me. That's what DM means, direct message, and that's a function within Instagram. They'll send me a private message and they'll say, hey, I really like what your brand stands for, or whatever, would you be interested in a collaboration? In which case I can reply directly to them instead of having to post that comment to everybody. And I think all of those are proper ways of reaching out to somebody. I probably would advise against sending a direct message to a shop that you haven't already connected with, at least in terms of liking and commenting their photos. If it's a cold call, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult. So, creating these warm leads by building your relationship with that person first is definitely going to help. And I also would suggest against reaching out to influencers on Instagram that have much more than 3 times your following. So let's say you have 1,000 followers. You want to reach out to somebody who's just a couple steps ahead of you instead of many, many steps ahead of you, because you want to make sure you're providing the person that you're collaborating with some value too. Otherwise, it's perceived from the other person's angle that, like, oh, you're just trying to ride the coattails, and it's like, if you're,
it's like a beginner
out
to a celebrity, and it's just
right.
like not really appropriate.
Right, like what's in that for me? So you really want to provide value for the person you're collaborating with. So that might look like free goods. It might look like, maybe you have a really big reach on another social media platform, so you can trade followers that way. So really think about what do you offer in terms of a collaborator, and then reaching out to people who are sort of in your league, but maybe a couple steps ahead of you is probably a good rule of thumb. And then eventually you grow and grow and grow, and more opportunities present themselves the further you're in the game. Yeah.
Well, I just want to remind everyone we're going to start to wrap up, so if you are interested in registering for Melissa's course, you get the $50 off for the 127 before the end of the call. As soon as we end the call, that's not going to be available anymore. So if you are keen to learn more and really grow your business with Instagram, whether it's service-based or product-based, Melissa's given us a really great start on that. And then if you want to go more in depth and really understand all of these kind of protocols and how to create the right images for your brand to really grow your followers fast and get lots of other ideas, like I know you're going to cover contests and other ways to really engage people, because I think that's one of the key components that you cover. Like I did see one of somebody that I know that just posts all the time, just double tap if you agree. And I just thought, that's so, and every single one is like that. And I thought, I think that's the right way to engage. I don't even know anything about engagement, but that just sort of put me off.
Yeah, totally.
And I just want to welcome Maria, who I know, who's my Aikido training partner.
Oh,
so yes, she's got an interior design business that's really beautiful, and her aesthetic is really beautiful. So I think it's going to be a perfect venue for her. And then we can collaborate in outside and inside of the Facebook, on and off the mat.
I love that.
Wonderful. One last question. Arlie says, I have one account on my smartphone for me personally. How can I get a second account for my business on my phone as well?
That's a great question. So as of right now, Instagram is very clunky in terms of switching between two accounts. So you actually can manage both on your phone, but it requires you to log all the way out of your personal account and then sign up for a business account under a different email address. So you have only one account per email address. And in order to switch between the two accounts, you have to log all the way out of one and then log into the other one and then log all the way out of that and then log back in. So it's clunky. It's not super user-friendly in that way, but I have a feeling, and that's like one of the top complaints from marketers. And so I do have a very, very strong feeling as to that is probably going to change soon, especially as Instagram does roll out the opportunity to advertise.
Oh, great. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up? Because I think we've been on for almost 2 hours, and
I know.
Obviously, people are. This is such an amazing new platform. I've already learned so much because I was figuring I didn't even know how to tag people. You know, when I had replied to you, I go, oh my God, I never even tagged her. So I mean, just even simple things that I loved your idea about. You know, even using other people's photos and tagging them and getting more. More followers for them. Like you tagged me this morning for the first time, I think, and then a whole bunch of people liked my photos and then started following me, which I thought, wow, that's really, I was really excited.
Yay! Yeah, and it's just a gracious way of doing business too. Like you want to be thanking the people who help you, and so sending more followers to someone else is always a great idea. I think that's just like a really kind way of doing business. So,
for people that you want to build rapport with too, like, when Denise was asking, you don't just connect with them cold. You build that rapport, you get to know them, you start to interact, so they have a sense of who you are and they start to see you on their feed, right? In their account. Where you reach out to them, and maybe they already have a sense of you. Like you were already, it's equivalent to you being on my list and knowing what I'm about. And then when I approached you, it was already warm. I also approached you because I had seen you on one of my colleagues, and had listened to your webinar, so I already had a sense of you. And of course, I checked out your website and I checked out your course and all of that before I even made that connection, and then made that warm connection. Here's who we know. Here's how we're connected before we approach. So it's just really a lovely way to start to make that. It's all about that connection.
Oh my gosh, everything in life I think is about that connection, but especially when you're marketing and figuring out how to just build that relationship, that will get you very, very, very far.
And Sherry says, thank you so much, Melissa and Susan. It was really helpful. And we had some other people saying that along the way, too.
Oh, good.
Sharon said, new to Instagram, excellent info. So a lot of people were posting that as well. So thank you so much.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you for having me. I do want to tell everybody before they hang up is to make sure that you're following Susan at Susan Haro on Instagram and me at Shop Compliment, so that even if you're not in the course, you can at least follow along with our story and we can interact that way. Because just let us know, leave a comment, and let us know that you were on the webinar, so that we can say hi and thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us.
Thank you so much. So we're about to sign off. So if you're keen to join Melissa and then me, because I'm going to be in there too, in the back end of the Facebook group, please go ahead and sign up now. And you're not going to do this course again until, because she's in there live, because she's getting married in November, she's not going to do the course again until the new year. So
that's right.
And Linda says, I can't wait for the course. Denise says,
yay!
Thank you. Yeah. So just so you know, if you're keen to do it now, the next time that she's going to open up the course live is not going to be until next year. So
right. After Christmas, I should, or after the holidays, I should mention as well, because a lot of us want to get in front of more eyes before the holiday season, because that's when so many people do buying. So I did have somebody say, oh, please, please, please do it again before the holidays, and I would love to, but I have a wedding to plan, so I need to put some energy there.
Some of that. Anne says thanks. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it, and you particularly, Melissa, for sharing so wonderfully all of your knowledge, and I love that your whole motto is we rise by lifting others, and you're such a great example of that on your Instagram account and in your life. So I think that that's a wonderful basis for every business, and like what you said, connection is everything. So it's really, so thank you for that.
It was my absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you sharing the platform with me. It's very fun.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. We hope to see you on Instagram. Bye.